Salute to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And we would like to inform everyone that we do comply with the Open Meetings Act, and a copy of the Open Meetings Ordinance is posted at the rear of this hearing room. And the purpose of this meeting tonight is to receive a report from our county engineer, Pam Dingman, and she will be presenting the 1 and the 6-year road plan. And then we will open up from comments from you folks. So we're glad to see a nice turnout tonight. And the rules that we'd like to go by is to have everyone respect everybody else's time and not to speak for over 5 minutes at a time. And Angela, our recording secretary here, will have a timer, and when you've got 1 minute left, she'll let you know. Try to wind up your comments, and we'll move on to the next person. When you do come up to speak, if you would come kind of on deck, if you will, to the front seats and sign in, please, up here, so that as we keep minutes and a record of this transaction and your comments, we know who is speaking. Now, what we'd like to do to start out with, to save some time, is to have a mass swearing, since this is a public hearing, and the clerk, Dan Nolde, our county clerk, and Angela Zokol will be our recording clerk for tonight. Dan would like to have you please stand if you wish to speak tonight, and he will administer the oath to you as a group. So those that wish to stand, would you please stand? Wish to speak tonight?
If you'd go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Thank you very much. Pam, would you like to proceed with your report?
Yes, Larry, I would.
Is your machine working?
There
we go. We have a picture.
I knew you'd get me on the computer thing. But I did feel it was important that we moved the 1 and 6 forward to this millennium and did it on PowerPoint this year. Thank you for coming to the 1 and 6 commissioners and to the audience, which seems to be quite large. Unfortunately, they are not seeing my better side tonight, so I'm hoping that they are focused on the PowerPoint. I am Pam Dingman, the Lancaster County engineer. Tonight, I am fortunate enough to have many of my Lancaster County team members with me, and if they could stand up and just briefly state their name and what their title is at Lancaster County Engineering, that would be great.
Would staff please stand and identify yourselves, please? Ken, we'll start with you.
Really loud.
I'm Aaron Cubble. I'm the GIS manager. I'm Virgil Jeremiah. I take care of the county's bridges. I'm Jim Lancaster, certified manager. I'm Ron Bellotti. I'm the shop supervisor. Eric Baker, supervisor, District 3. Larry Ahrens, district supervisor. Dave Holland, District 1 supervisor, Waverly. Bob Jacobs, I'm the road maintenance superintendent. Jeff Mansky, supervisor in Southeast Lancaster County.
Thank all of you for your dedication and the work that you do.
And I would like to take a moment to thank them too. I mean, as the commissioners are aware, I'm nearing almost 1 year of community service here, public service, as Lancaster County engineer. Many of these staff members I have asked this year to do things that they felt were impossible. What I didn't tell them is sometimes I thought they were impossible too. And in almost all the cases, they came through and did the impossible with what I'm going to talk to you about, very little assets. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about the 1 and 6. And as I prepare to talk to you about that, I would like to talk first about the projects that we did complete this year. The main project that Commissioner Smoyer begged me to complete before his tenure was over here as a commissioner, and that was the acquisition of 98th Street. So we were actually able to bring everybody back to the table and acquire that right away. It had been on hold since 2003, and so this was a major accomplishment for my department. In addition to that, we were given the duty of grading Pine Lake Road, which was a bit of a daunting task for my first year as county engineer, since it's graded right by Commissioner Amundsen's house.
And I checked on her every day.
She did check on me every day. In addition to that, though, I was always a little happy when Commissioner Amundsen's truck was dirtier than mine, which is saying something on a good day. In addition to the grading of Pine Lake Road, we resurfaced Roca Road, Sprague Road, and portions of Firth Road. And we also paved 1.6 miles of Saltillo. I would like to talk to you briefly tonight about Lancaster County's bridges and roads. And as we continue to have funding issues, not only at the federal, state, and local level, Lancaster County has 297 bridges and culverts over 20 feet, which by definition count as a bridge. 80 are over 50 years old. This is significant because 50 years is the lifespan of a bridge or a culvert. This is the bridge located at 176th Street, just south of Waverly Road. This is a bridge that had emergency repairs this year, and I'd like to talk to you briefly about it. It shows up in our Lancaster County Bridge Inventory as a 1968 truss bridge. But upon some investigation, I actually discovered that this is a bridge that we purchased in 1932 and installed in Emerald. Later, we picked it up from Emerald and we moved it outside of Waverly. This is significant because this bridge is actually probably more like 100 years old. It's also a dirt deck bridge, if you've ever heard of a dirt deck bridge. And I know we have a member here with us, a community member here with us tonight that lives by this bridge and was really glad that we were able to get it repaired. And so I think it's important that she's here and able to voice that. But this particular bridge, with the steel decking over 100 years old, the decking had not been manufactured since the 1930s. And Mr. Dearmont, who is with us tonight and will be very humble about how he managed to find this steel, which was really a miracle. He managed to find this steel after a month of calling vendors, and he managed to find someone in Kentucky that had this steel still in their yard. We then waited for a full truck coming from Kentucky to Nebraska so that we could get the best price, so that we could reassemble this bridge and get it back open to the public. In addition to this emergency repair, we actually did injure 2 employees, unfortunately, repairing this bridge. But this is just a testimony to how committed the Lancaster County employees are to keeping these roads and bridges open. In fact, our welder, who cut himself severely while welding this bridge, actually asked for duct tape to tape his leg together while he welded for an additional 2 hours before returning to the shop. And so, Peggy Brown, I just want you to know that's what Lancaster County has done for you tonight.
You can bet an article will be about this in the Waverly News.
Well, we were a little worried when we had the delay in finding the materials, Commissioner Hutkins, about having an article before we could get the bridge back open. Yeah. So this is a bridge in Lancaster County. It's known to Mr. Dearmont as Bridge C91 because structural engineers add calculus and equations to everything. I will refer to it as Raymond Road west of First Street. This bridge has been on and off on our standby and on our 1 and 6 plan since 1998. It's rather humbling. This particular bridge in a minor storm event has water that flows over the bridge 18 to 24 inches deep. In fact, in a major or minor storm event, when weather is forecasted, I am so certain that water will flow over the road that I've had our crews go ahead and drop barricades off in advance so that when the sheriff calls and says the water's on the road, we simply need to pull the barricade out. You can see that it also has some issues with the rails, and then you can see debris. This is actually the Mother's Day storm. that we experienced this year. Then we have West Pioneer Boulevard and Southwest 98th, our latest bridge to have issues. You might notice the sinkhole by the guardrail, and of course, it would be hard to miss the 7-foot marker denoting how deep the hole is. This particular bridge was discovered on routine inspection last week, and indeed we did report it to the state, and we have downgraded this bridge to a 3-ton bridge. Why is that significant? Well, it's significant because Commissioner Hudkins can tell you he cannot drive a grain truck across this bridge.
I can't even drive a pickup across there legally the way I load them. And I was across it last night.
I hope, Commissioner, that your truck was properly loaded when you crossed it. We also cannot drive a school bus across this bridge. When these issues happen, we will follow the standards set forward to us, and we will rate those bridges for weight. And if we need to close them, we will close them. In addition to our challenges with bridges, we also have some challenges with roads. Lancaster County currently has 272 miles of paved roads, of which 80 miles are in need of asphalt overlay. We currently have a budget for 10 to 11 miles of overlay. In addition to that, we have over 20 miles of roads that have been graded and placed on the 2 through 6 years of the plan for paving. And when I first came into office, I found myself being a little humbled because people would call me and they'd say, "When is my road going to get paved?" And I would say, "Well, it's in the 1 and 6. And I would get the rather crass response, "Why are you lying to me?" Now, not knowing that I was telling a lie, the citizen would then proceed to tell me that the road had been on the 2 through 6 for 5, 10, sometimes 15 years, and sometimes even 20 years. We currently are able, with the funds that we have, to pave 1.6 miles of new road a year. These things are important. Today I was asked by a constituent, why don't we have any money? Where has the money gone? And the reality is the money's not coming down from the federal government to the state, and the state is not coming from the state to us. In fact, the Federal Highway Trust Fund is in a crisis. I did want to bring to your attention an article tonight from Public Works magazine that talks about the 1961 Federal Highway Trust Act by President Kennedy. In today's dollars, you might notice. So gas was 27 cents a gallon in 1961, and the federal tax that went to highways and bridges was 4 cents. If that is brought up to today's numbers, that's 31 cents in 2014 dollars. However, because that rate of tax did not keep up with inflation, we now look at that today we pay 18 cents. If this alone was brought up to current standards, we could obviously solve the Federal Highway Trust Fund. Now, I'm not advocating a gas tax by any stretch of the imagination, but I do want to bring to the attention the depth of the problem as a nationwide problem and crisis for our infrastructure. I want to talk a little bit about the money that we received in 2014 for the Bridge and Road Fund. We actually received a transfer from the county of $6.3 million and state from the buyback funds of $323,000. This year, we have made the budget work on $6.2 million transfer from the county, and we will receive a state buyback fund of $329,000. Now, before I go into this year's 1 and 6, what I would like to humbly state is that to some extent, the 1 has been the part that we had budget for. And the things that we put in that plan were things we had budgeted for. Now, I would prefer in the future not to be labeled a liar by the constituents and by the citizens of our county. So when I bring future 1 and 6 roadway plans to you, I will constrain them by the projected dollars that I foresee coming to us. Because I think that we need to be honest with people about what improvements we are able to construct in the future. So with that, this is this year's 1 and 6. You might notice a map, and hopefully you have gathered a copy of this document from outside the door. I will also note that into the record should go the planning board fact sheet to the planning board. So what we currently have projected for this year's 1 and 6, if you page through to page 5, the full list. As you page through to the map, you'll be able to see that in red are the areas that we are putting on our list to either overlay or pave. In green are the areas that we are putting on our list to and in yellow are the areas where we intend to buy right away. Now, I want you to notice, if you look at a close-up of this map, that some of the red lines located on your map are actually within the city of Lincoln's jurisdiction. And I did speak to the commissioners last week with Roger Feigart about an interlocal agreement where we would pave continuously through in these areas. We feel that this would, with the quantity of asphalt overlay that we will be doing in these areas, that this would get the county and the city a better price. Now, I want you also to note the red line off of, well, it looks like it's connecting with I-80, but I will assure you it is not, and south of what is Highway 6. This is Bluff Road. There are many citizens here tonight from Camp Creek and the city of Waverly to talk about the need of paving this 1.6 miles of Bluff Road. And in fact, Waverly is currently in discussions with me to do an interlocal that would take that pavement to 148th Street. These interlocal agreements and the city's working with the counties will obviously give us a larger bang for our buck. You may notice as we go through, and I'm going to page through back to the actual roads, that in addition, I know that I've pressured the commissioners that any extra funding that we have this year needs to be able to go to road overlays and bridges. So in order to be able to do that without coming back and modifying this plan, I have added this handy list of standby projects. Okay. And should you diligently come up with enough funding for me to be able to fund these, I, along with the citizens that are here tonight, I'm sure would be ecstatic. You may also note that we have no bridges that were completed last year and no bridges that will be constructed this year. However, on occasion, federal money does become available, and should that happen, we have these 3 bridges on standby so that we are ready to take advantage, again, if funds become available. With that, I would like to draw your attention to this map. This is a map that my staff made up for me. It's actually an animation going from 1999 to the current year. And as it steps through, what we wanted to call your attention to is even with very, very limited resources, we have managed to actually do a significant amount of construction in Lancaster County in the last 15 years. The blue lines that you see on the map indicate engineering. That's not a color that I called out to you before. So I think that as a county, based on what you're seeing on this map, we should be proud of ourselves with what we have managed to get constructed on what is a shoestring budget. With that, I will note to the members of the audience that pages 10, 11, 12, and 13 of the plan are roads, whereas page 14 are bridges that are in the 2 through 6 year. I would like to thank everyone for being here tonight. I think that the presence of so many people definitely indicates an interest in our infrastructure. And with that, I would welcome anyone to the podium who wishes to talk about Lancaster County's bridges and roads. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the County Board, Mark Hunziker. I'm appearing on behalf of a group of neighbors who live in the Wheatland subdivision, which is east of 120th Street between A and Van Dorn. We're here to encourage you to keep in mind that you have the possibility this year of possibly as much as $500,000 coming back to your budget in the form of unspent funds for Region 5, as I understand it. And to the extent that that money is not expended, we want to hopefully remind you to do your utmost to move any unspent appropriated funds into the county engineer's budget for roads. One of the improvements we would like to nominate for your consideration to add to the list of those projects on the standby list on page 6 is 120th Street between A and Van Dorn. The traffic on 120th has deteriorated the condition of that road. The intersection of 120th and A Street is an offset and a very dangerous condition. And we understand that the reality of limited funding is upon us, and we don't have any serious expectation that our appeal to you this evening is going to result in paving next summer. On the other hand, we want to make sure you understand that we know this road is in need of paving, and that we understand this effort might require continued effort on our part to remind you of that need. And we intend to continue that effort and ask you to consider placing that road on your list of standby improvements to try to keep moving it up on your list, and to continue to urge you to appropriate as much money as you possibly can to this effort, because I think our infrastructure within the county in form of roads and bridges is in dire need of additional funding for everyone. So thank you very much for your time.
Questions, Commissioner Edmondson?
Is this the specific one? I was approached on this with, by the town of Walton? Okay, with the road going with, let's see, what is it, 120th going north and south, A
Yes.
going east and west, and then you have the bike trail, and then you also have the grain trucks going into the granary. Is that the
Been
one?
there, yes. That's it.
That's
and
the
it,
one.
it is a, I mean, 120th Street comes to that intersection with A at odd angles, and it's impossible to go straight through.
Right.
It gets kind of narrow in there, and it's a tight radius that gets you from southbound 120th into that intersection. And it's a dangerous condition, particularly with the bike path that crosses it as well.
Right.
This is your approximate location, correct, Mr. Monsignor?
That would be at Van Dorn, and A
Is
is
right,
up there.
yeah.
That one right there.
Yeah. And that is, I will say, that's a very dangerous one.
We would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Board. My name is Stefan Gaspar. I live in 2501 South 122nd Court in Walton. My property directly abuts 120th Street. And I want to just reiterate the fact that this, not only the intersection is very dangerous, it's also that 120th Street is paved from O Street all the way to A Street, and then A Street is paved all the way down into Lincoln. And as people are driving, I guess the main street is 120th to A. And once you approach the intersection from any other angle, it is unclear as to which car is going which way and which car is going straight and which one's turning left and so forth. And as you correctly turned out, the Walton grain elevator is right there, I think within 20 feet. That road also contributes to the traffic. We have numerous young drivers in our subdivision. Most attend East High School. These young drivers are not the only ones who don't adjust the driving style to gravel roads. As you know, unfortunately, last year, East High School student was killed on a gravel road near Waverly. Grain trucks and school buses also seem to be taking gravel roads at a relatively high clip. Turning out of our subdivision, the wheatlands is sometimes difficult because obviously you got all the dust going and the grain trucks and everything else going back and forth. The dust is obviously a concern. Some people have asthma, and it's very thick. That it's very difficult to drive in a fog and so forth. The proximity to the Walton to the bike path is I think should be pointed out because our family basically stopped jogging or biking to the Walton Bike Trail because we've got to navigate down 120th Street and you've got all the dust and the flying rock going. There are homes on both sides of 120th now, both the Wheatlands and Windhoek. They're both acreage subdivisions, and they're getting pretty built out. So this particular stretch of road is double loaded, which is, I think, different than a lot of the other roads that you may consider paving. And so as a homeowner, I urge you to consider this project in your 1 or 6 year plan in the future. And there was some confusion as to if it would be appropriate to come to this meeting or to some other meetings. So we haven't really geared up completely the full support of all the neighbors, but I do have a list of neighbors that we just in preliminary talks are also in favor of paving the road, and I may give that to the...
You bet if you present it to the clerk right here, they'll enter it into the record, and you came to the right meeting. That's what this state statute requires, that we have this meeting once a year just for this purpose. So
Thank you very much for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Wendy Majorans, and I am going to talk to you about the same road, so I'm not going to repeat everything that they just said, but I go to work on this road 3 to 4 times a week, and the one thing that I've noticed that's kind of scary when you're driving on a gravel road, if it's wet, it becomes very slick. The corner of the intersection at Walton and A and all that is very confusing, and you have big trucks, and when it creates the dust, if you're driving behind a car that's ahead of you, you literally cannot see what's coming up or what's coming at you. So I would just encourage you to pave that road on 120th. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And keep coming forward to the front seats so as one speaker finishes as well, we can keep it going, and we'll use efficient use of your time and get all of your testimony in.
Okay. I'll be brief also. I'm Dave McJorans, and I don't want to repeat everything that the first 3 just shared with that, but all of that is true. And I travel that road a lot, and Roma, you're correct. That is that confusing intersection there on A Street, and that's my big concern, both from traveling that road, and then also I used to bike that road a lot out that way. And that makes it very difficult to a very dangerous intersection because there's like three things that come together there. And so that's why I just wanted to speak in support of that, in addition to all of the other comments that were shared tonight. So that's my comments. Thank you for listening.
Well, Dave, your points are well taken, and it sounds like we also need to really consider the engineering consequences of this because of the bike trail and the elevator and everything, so we need to get a head start on the engineering of it. Commissioner Shore.
I have a question, and thank you, group, for your testimony before we move on to the next segment. The engineer's office has provided us with this very useful map that shows the amount of trips per day on the road. And Larry, I know that it does vary in harvest time and planting time. I understand that. And I'm going to ask this question or make this statement for every single group that provides testimony tonight. If I'm reading the engineer's map correctly, this segment on 120th between A and Van Dorn has travel trips of 121 per day.
221.
221, and that was taken in 2013. So it's a relatively accurate count.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I will also note that for the audience tonight, I have left a stack of my Lancaster County business cards up at the podium. So if you're interested in my contact information, please feel free to take a card.
You're always
Proceed.
Hi, my name is Dave Watts. I live in Lincoln. My business is in Waverly, Nebraska. I came tonight to talk about asking you guys to put on your radar considering 112th Street for paving down the road. 112th Street runs about 320 vehicles between O and Holdridge and about 320 Holdridge to Adams. It's the only north-south access to I-80 once you get past 56th Street. So it makes some sense to consider that as an access to Interstate 80. It would help take pressure off 84th Street. It's a good north-south. It continues south of O Street, almost to Highway 2. It's also, if the East Bypass is ever built, at 100 through 120th, 112th Street is half mile off. If you had pavement there down the road, it would provide economical access to a paved road back into Lincoln. Growth in the area continues. The city purchased the northwest quarter of a section for a future park. That's at 98th and Adams on the southwest quadrant of that intersection. So 112th is a half mile east of that future park development. I think it's just something that if you look in your long-range plans, 112th makes sense to look at future pavement for I-80 access, for East Beltway, and for continued growth east of Lincoln. The second item I wanted to talk about, and I've talked to Pam a little bit about this, is in Waverly, I interviewed a gal for a position in our office, and she lives in Waverly, and we were talking, and she lives on the north side of the tracks, and talking about the high school. And she says, yeah, my kids have to cross Cannon Gate Road. It's the only access to the school. And since I've talked to her, I've watched that bridge is built on a curve. There's no pedestrian walkway, and there's kids walking to school on that thing every day to and from. Now, I don't have any kids walking on it, but I think the county needs to really put that on their radar also, or we're gonna get some kid run over on a bike, and then we're gonna build a pedestrian overpass. And that's over the tracks, so that would be a good RSTD project to look at some railroad transportation safety funds. So I would ask you guys to look at that for a project down the road. So
It has been mentioned for many, many years. I'm originally a Waverly native, and a lot of input on that. In your estimation, Mr. Watts, would it be better to try to put a pedestrian annex onto the existing overpass, or just make a pedestrian walk somewhere down by the old downtown.
Well, that's where a lot of the growth in the young neighborhoods. I mean, I think there's 150 homes built in Northwest Waverly. So you move it down. I don't know if that helps you much. I'm not an engineer. I know a lot of them, so. But it seems to me like that's a pretty good location, and if there's future growth, it seems to me like east of Waverly is with Millard Lumber and the co-ops is probably not as has the potential for residential growth. But it does bother me, and it's a concern watching the kids cross that bridge.
Thank you for testifying and your opinions.
Thank you for letting me come back. I'm Jim Becker. I live at 5101 Saltillo Road, and I was here earlier today, and I was invited to come back because I speak so eloquently. I want to talk some real numbers. ADT. 68th to Highway 2 Saltillo are the highest ADT numbers in the county. All the way from 6,600 to 7,900 at Highway 77. This road has never been improved after it was paved about 40 years ago, and there wasn't much dirt work done then. There's no shoulders. There's always drop-offs at the pavement edge, and we've got some very notorious intersections, 27th, 40th, 54th. 27th, you've got a railroad track 50 feet from there that runs 21 coal trains per day. 40th Street, 54th, we've had a fatality, and the line of sight is not there. And it's just very dangerous. And every year, I wait to see this on the 1 to 6 plan, and I don't see it. And I'm pursuing this. Now, we've had 2 fatalities on this road, either side of my driveway since May. And we've added extra traffic to Swartz Quarries. All the rubble and fill is going that way, down 54th. And you have paved Saltillo to 120th, essentially giving us a truck bypass. And I don't know how this road can take any more traffic. You know, it's maxed out right now. You can't turn left on it. We have all T intersections on this road. That means everything that comes and goes out of South Lincoln ends up on Saltillo Road. Enough?
You haven't used your 5 minutes, but you made your point.
I can go on and on.
Thank you.
Just for a point of reference, would you give the cross street of the quarry? Just for a point of reference for the record, would you give a cross street of the quarry so we know what you're referring to?
Okay. Swartz Quarries was re-permitted. I believe the county commissioners approved that.
No, just the cross street, so when the clerk's
54th.
office, thank you, when the
54th is
clerk's office recreates the record, that we have a
Yeah.
point of reference for
And
what
I
you're
have
doing.
talked with the drivers that use the quarry now, and at certain times of the day, they go to Roca, to Highway 77, because they cannot get back onto Saltillo. And that's dangerous in itself. I'd like to see it in some kind of a plan at some point.
Thank you.
If I could briefly address that, that testimony. You know, I believe that my predecessor, Don Thomas, often referred to Saltillo as the existing South Beltway.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we are currently working, it's a project that has a lot of collaboration but we are currently working with the state and the city of Lincoln on the true South Beltway,
Do I have any time left?
which,
I have talked with the state, and they claim they have no connection with this at all. And I've got an email here from Steve Owen.
well, if you can get with me and share that email after the meeting, I would be interested in it. You know, I mean, Saltillo Road is going to obviously be very different than the South Beltway. The South Beltway will be, of course, south of Saltillo. But as we look at that corridor, and we look at that corridor being complete prior to 2020 is the goal. We're looking at a major thoroughfare through there.
It's not even it won't even start till 2020. And I don't think it'll be built. I've seen this before. We've all seen this before, everybody here.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fawn?
Good evening, Mr. Commissioners. My name is Mike Fawn, and I'm the Vice President of Camp Creek Antique Machinery and Thrashing Association, located at 17200 Bluff Road, east of Waverly. There are several of our club members here tonight to show support for the paving of Bluff Road. If they could just show their hands.
Holy
moly.
This is serious.
Some of the residents who live along Bluff Road are here in support of paving. Would you please show your hand? Thank you. Camp Creek Thrashers own 77 acres located along Bluff Road. Our organization is 38 years old, and our mission is to preserve the agricultural history of our state. We are the largest volunteer organization in the county with over 450 members, ranging in ages from 11 to 103, with those members being as far away as Texas and New York, and to those that live in Waverly. Just in the past 2 years, we have seen a big increase in our membership. Our members and guests come and go to Camp Creek using Bluff Road throughout the year to help maintain and improve the grounds, not only during the shows, but all year long. We feel that the small thrashing bees we used to have now turned into a tourist attraction, again, one of the biggest in the county that brings in many visitors to Waverly. Our showgrounds has a wide selection of buildings and full of history that are open to the public. During the year, the thrashings hold 3 main events. A one-day swap meet in May that sees 800 to 900 people attend. An annual thrashing show in July, which for the past 2 years has had 9,000 people attend each. And the Camp Creek Railroader Show in September, where just last month had 800 people attend the 2-day event. We also open our grounds for other events: weddings, baptisms in the church, hayrack rides, family reunions, graduations, and anniversary parties. The Prairie Blacksmiths have a 2-day workshop on the grounds, and we've had the Cornhusker Council Boy Scouts hold several jamborees that have had 500 to 800 scouters for each one for their 3-day activities. The grounds have provided many projects for Eagle Scouts. We've had tractor rides, tractor pulls, fun runs, and mud drags. The Nebraska One reenactment have been used in the grounds for training, as well as the University ROTC. This summer, an independent Lincoln film crew used the grounds to film a movie, and an Omaha film crew was asked to use the grounds next summer to do local commercials. And each May, the 4th graders from Waverly Ashland schools spend a day on the showgrounds where they learn how things were done years ago. This year, Eagle Elementary will join Waverly Group, bringing a total of 150 students to the grounds for just that one day. Ashland will come a week later with 70 students, and Bennett will follow with 25 students. As you see, Bluff Road is well traveled by our organization, as well as the residents who live in the area. All ages drive on this road, which leads us to another concern about the road, and that's the safety. Traffic on Bluff Road has increased tremendously over the years, not just by us, but by the general public. Along with that comes dust. It makes it very hazardous driving, as drivers cannot see what is coming, what is behind them, or where to turn. We also have seen an increase in walkers, joggers, bikers along the Bluff Road. They are even more difficult to see than a vehicle. During our show in July, we water the road 2 to 3 times during the peak use to keep the dust down. But on those hot July days, it only can keep the dust down for about 30 minutes or less before the dust returns. It becomes an issue for our guests, which total about 9,000 for that weekend. The dust on the road also causes less yield for the crops grown along Bluff Road. The dust from the traffic out on the crops are cut down by the photosynthesis that proceeds doesn't improve until the next rain. The weight of heavy farm equipment from not only our show, but during the planting and harvesting breaks down the road, causing the dust. The current condition of the road is a washboard effect over most of it. Another point in favor of paving this road is that this 2-mile stretch from 148 to 176 has already been graded for paving. So this could be a savings in comparing to other paving projects per mile. We ask that you take into consideration the paving of Bluff Road, and of course, we will benefit from it, but it will also benefit the city of Waverly and Lancaster County. Thank you for your time.
And thank you for your testimony. I first nominated this road 28 years ago, and we got it graded and we got it elevated, and Pam does have it scheduled for blacktop this year. And I think we're going to hear from the mayor of Waverly. They've got the last quarter mile or so.
Good evening. I am Mike Warner, Mayor of Waverly, and I am definitely here tonight to support the idea of an interlocal agreement so that the last 5 blocks of Bluff Road is definitely the city of Waverly from 148th to roughly 153rd. In fact, Pam and I spoke on this a month ago, and the council member and Doug Ricks, our city administrator, talked about on the way here tonight. We would like to see, commissioners, more and more interlocals exercise between the small cities and the counties for a lot more than possibly even road construction. We could probably benefit from, we have 134th Street. Larry, you know Waverly's better than anybody. That's the city of Waverly's problem. We have about 5 blocks there by the school that needs paved. We would rather just pay the county through an interlocal to engineer, do the work, and we pay 100% of it. We would much prefer that. We would rather find a larger entity to get a larger block. I think we could all benefit from a cost savings that way. So,
good point.
Definitely in support of interlocal agreements, definitely. And I couldn't agree more with Mike Vaughn's comments on Bluff Road that from a safety standpoint, I would like to add that we did ask for the county engineer's permission if we could water your county road. We wanted to make sure that people knew that we had somebody's permission, but other than that, I don't have much else to say other than it's always a pleasure when Pam's at a meeting, isn't it? It's always kind of a little different, but she has great ideas, and we just want to work with you. That I think the little towns could really work a lot with the county, so we could all have a win-win situation here.
Well, our new county engineer is taking a fresh look at everything, and we as a board are taking a fresh look at it too. And
Great.
We appreciate the cooperation we've had with Waverly on Amberley Road and the drainage projects and everything. You've been great to work with.
And you've been great with us too. We'd like to thank you, and we really do owe the county employees a big round of thanks. They do a lot. Dave and his crew out at Waverly, we appreciate what they do out there.
Well, let's just take a moment and do that right now.
Commissioners, my name is Joe Dalton. I'm a resident of Waverly, also a city council member of the city of Waverly. I reside in North 150th Court, which, if you got folks are familiar with that, that's just east of 148th Street. That development there is called Evandale Estates. Evandale Estates East Edition is the 152nd, 153rd Streets. Between 148th and 153rd Streets, which is the city's property, there are approximately 200 residences there, with another 19 being built right behind my house presently by Bob Benish's group. But 150th and 151st Street are north-south roads that abut and dead end into Bluff Road. It is a very high access road for the members and the residents of Evandale Estates to utilize to get access out of their homes onto Bluff Road and then out of the town. I personally sat at that intersection, 148th and Bluff Road, for Camp Creek on that Saturday morning, counted nearly 300 cars per hour from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And It's a crazy intersection, and you cannot see when you're going 25 miles an hour, let alone 45 miles an hour, because people don't appreciate the severity of the conditions of the road. So having that paved would alleviate that huge safety concern. You quite frankly cannot see a quarter mile in front of you. And it's scary, it's dangerous, and we've got a lot of young families in those homeowners in that addition over there. And these kids are coming along the sidewalks along Bluff Road. And I know it's busy and it's dusty as all heck. My boy and myself were responsible for mowing the ditch along Bluff Road on the south side. So we know what that all entails. As far as the dust, it's covered, and you can't work there on Camp Creek weekend for sure. But we're definitely supportive of paving that, and as the mayor indicated, well, the city is prepared to enter into any type of interlocal agreement we can to get 148th to 153rd, our portions of Bluff Road paved, so that we don't have this problem that we currently do have. And so that's as the president of the Homeowners Association on Evandale Estates, we're supportive of paving this project.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Doug Ricks. I'm the City Administrator in Waverly. I just wanted to emphasize, yes, we're very supportive of hard surfacing Bluff Road. And in the 2014-15 city budget, we did budget money for this, so we are very committed to it. And also, as Dave Watts mentioned, the pedestrian walkway across Cannon Gate, another third project I saw in the 1- and 6-year plan that's very critical to Waverly is a truck bypass. I believe when Amberley Road was originally built, I was told it was to be a truck bypass. I believe it was built in about 1991, and at that time, there was not a Waverly or a school district middle school there or a high school. And also since that time, there's been 2 housing developments started, so whatever can be done to utilize Alva Road possibly as a truck bypass would be greatly appreciated. So we appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this opportunity to address the commissioners. My name is Roy Rivera, and I live on 5211 West Songbird Circle. I found out about this opportunity reading an article in the Lincoln Journal-Star in reference to an accident that happened in Saltillo Road, which it just inspired me to come here and talk of my concern. I live on very close to Air Park, which means that as a cyclist, I need to take Westo and then Northwest 48th. And to be honest, taking Northwest 48th is really scary. There's really no shoulder. And, it's kind of a hilly kind of road. So it's very hard for automobiles to expect seeing a cyclist. I don't really have the data. And, I don't really see many cyclists, but I see once in a while a cyclist. And I truly believe it only takes one. And I'm not only concerned for cyclists, but I'm concerned about cars. To be honest, I find 99% of automobiles are very courteous to me when I'm riding, but I'm also scared that when they're being courteous, they're gonna hit another car coming on the other way. That's pretty much a concern that I have. Winter's coming, so that means the conditions of the streets, are gonna be pretty bad. I mean, by the shoulder, there's cracks on the street, so it makes it really hard to maneuver when you're cycling. So that was the reason why I wanted to come, to see if there was a way to add shoulders to that street, or if there was, I'm not sure if this is the right meeting for that, but if there's a possibility to add a bike trail to that side of town. There's beautiful trails that go from downtown all over the south side of Lincoln, but there's nothing that goes to that side. And, I think that hurts the social opportunities for the people living there, because once public transportation is over around 6 in the afternoon, you need to head home. Otherwise, you need to pay for transportation that is a little bit more expensive, and sometimes when you think about having to ride your bike, it's tough. At this point, I'm right now thinking about my ride home, and I'm like, this is something that I have to deal with every day that I ride my bike. Just making sure that even though I find, I do everything that I can to be safe, but at the same time, I go back to the point that cars sometimes are not expecting you. So, I'm not representing anyone here. I just thought this would be a good opportunity to bring this matter to the radar, and hopefully there's some construction in that side of town so that we're all safe and can coexist safely. Thank you.
Are you going to ride your bike home tonight?
Yes, I am.
I hope you've got some good reflective clothing and some lights on there, because last night as I was going home by the Emerald Lake, there was a bicyclist after dark that didn't have any lighting on, and it's very, very dangerous. So.
And yeah, that's the thing. I have helmets, back, front light, reflective gear, and everything, and still, it's hard because that Northwest 48th, even though it's a street where it's perfectly legal for a cyclist to be riding their bike, it's like a 45 mile per hour. And we all know that nobody does the speed limit sometimes.
And watch out for the deer. We had a deer take a cyclist off on Sawtell just recently too. So a lot of things up. We are very cognizant of that. Again, it's a big funding thing when people need roads, but we did on the Denton Road for the first 3 miles when we built that last year. We did put shoulders out there for bike safety as well. But we'd like to see bike trails even off the road, maybe adjacent or in the right of way, but it's much, much, much safer.
Yes, I would really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hello, my name is Vaughn Roberts. I'm just a 15 or 14-year resident of Lancaster County, and I'm glad to be here. And one of the reasons that attracted me to this community is not only the job, but the vibrancy of the lifestyle. I'm a 40-year or more recreational bicyclist. I mean, more than riding to the swimming pool like you did when you were 12 years old. I'm a life member of the League of American Bicyclists, and I'm a certified bicyclist safety instructor certified by the League of American Bicyclists. And I come to talk about no specific road project, but all road projects in general. I'm also a physician, so I come at this from the point of view of public health. I think that we need to engineer our roads to make them safe for all traffic. And maybe you're all not aware, but bicycles are legal vehicles in this country by the Uniform Vehicle Codes, federal law, and they deserve to be respected and appreciated. Now, we bicyclists have to honor the rights of motorists as well, and that's one of my concerns. Is I frequently see people riding in what I consider an unsafe manner, which I actively discourage to the regret of some of my fellow cyclists. But be that as it may, I want us to see us exercise our transportation system as a public health issue to encourage activity. We all know that activity decreases healthcare costs and improves lifestyle. I'd like to see everyone recognize bicycles as vehicles and punish those who don't effectively. And one of the things I've campaigned nationally via emails, not publicly, but Nebraska has passed the 3-foot pass law. That is law in Nebraska. You have to give a bicyclist 3 feet, and if you cannot give them 3 feet, you do not pass them. But there's no signage that supports this. I've been in communication with people at the state and the federal level that govern roadways, and there is no approved signage. However, other states are putting up signage that require, so they inform motorists that you have to give 3 feet to pass. And I think it's time that we in Nebraska break away from the mold of following all the laws and rules that the feds give us and put up the signs and inform people, regardless of what the feds might think about this. But again, I don't have any specific roadways that I'm interested in. I'm interested in all roadways, and I ride the Mopac Trail frequently, and I can attest to the danger of 120th and A Street. That intersection causes me anxiety every time I go through there. I've been involved in several wrecks, some of my fault, some not my fault. I've broken 2 helmets and 5 or 6 ribs. That 17th and Van Dorn was where the 5 and 6 ribs took place when a car ran the red light. But I just encourage this, and I hope that you keep this in your mind. I know there are former county commissioners who are cyclists and current county commissioners. I don't consider myself a public activist. I basically go to work and I'm concerned about public health. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, if there's anybody else that's changed your mind and wishes to speak, we can swear you in right quick. Yes, please come up. And the commissioners and I wish to thank all of you tonight for being orderly, sharing your time, and giving us your heartfelt testimony on how you feel, and making us aware of situations that you see every day that we only see occasionally. And Mr. Dan Nolde, our county clerk, will administer the oath.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Jason Babcock, and I live just south of Waverly on 134th and Alvo Road. A couple things I want to say. I want to thank the county for the work that they have done on the road and keeping it updated. The graders through there all the time. It's a school traffic zone for sure, and so there's lots of traffic rolling through there. So the graders out there all the time. I want to thank them for the work that they do out there. They've also come and cleaned up some of the ditches in the area, taken some trees out, and cleaned up the property a little bit. So I appreciate that. They want to keep the ice off the hillside, so I appreciate the work that they've done there. I'm also a Camp Creek member, so I support what's going on in the Bluff Road situation. I appreciate that a lot. Been a member for the last 4 or 5 years, so it's been a very good time with the organization there. And I wasn't expecting to speak, but I heard Doug Ricks talk about traffic through Alvo Road. I have a lot of concerns there. First of all, we live a little bit too close to the road. 1925, when the house was built, this was not an issue. The house is now probably too close to the road for probably what legal limits are today, is my suspicion. But that means we're really close to what's happening at that intersection. Those stop signs do not stop any 15-ton trucks. I know this. There's trucks flying through those stop signs at all times. If you're gonna make that intersection a thoroughfare, you've got a lot of road work to do. You better have millions and millions of dollars to cut down the hills, get traffic right, and make it work. So if you're gonna make that a truck thoroughfare, then I would ask that you spend the money and do it right. It is a heavy traveled road for Novartis employees, high school, construction, contractors are flying through there all the time. There's also the Waverly Cross Country team goes through there. And so there's a lot of use of that road, 134th as well as Alvo Road. So if you're gonna do anything there, I would appreciate the right work done. I'm a registered engineer for the state of Nebraska as a mechanical engineer. I'm not a civil or traffic engineer, but I just wanted to state that for the record. The other thing going through there, I don't know if there's any way to slow down the traffic at this point, but I'm not in support of paving either of those roads at the moment because it keeps the traffic down a little bit. They could make it a little rougher as far as I'm concerned because it would slow down the trucks and the high-speed traffic that's flying through there. So I do thank you for allowing us this time to come and speak our minds and have some opinions. So,
Jason, if you'd stay there for a minute or two.
Okay.
We have a couple of questions. Commissioner Shore has a comment or two, and so do I.
Okay.
I'd like to start out by saying I appreciated your saying that you appreciated cleaning out the road ditches. Sometimes we get some resistance to cleaning out those road ditches, and some people think it interferes with wildlife. But if we can cut those road ditches back, you've got a much better chance of seeing that deer than if it steps out behind a tree at the last moment. And the other thing is that you landowners along the side there, when you donate the right-of-way, when we have to take out a fence or cut back into your ground for dirt, when you donate that right-of-way, that saves us a lot of expense and time and effort, and that often, helps on a project. So any of you keep that in mind. We appreciate that very much when you do donate that right-of-way. And when you get paid for it, you have to declare income tax on it. If you donate it, you don't. And our legal department will update your records so you don't have that cost too. So I just want to put that in. Commissioner Shore.
Jason, have you reached out to the county sheriff to ask them to do a speed check? Sometimes that will slow down traffic, not permanently, but at least temporarily. Have you had the opportunity to do that? I guess I would encourage you if you haven't.
I've called the deputy only one time.
Okay.
I probably should have done it more often than that.
Okay.
But what happens, those late evening weekends, Waverly has several wells in the area, and so cars are racing from wellhead to wellhead up on top of the hills at various times. So I've called the deputy at those times.
Okay. Particularly if you have a time frame that would be particularly beneficial to have them visible, that would be helpful information as well.
Yeah, right after a football game.
Okay.
441-6500, and give them a call, and particularly those stop sign violations. We'll all feel bad if some young person gets killed out there. And
Would be tragic.
Yeah, you're just being a good citizen. You're not being a rat.
Agreed.
Anyone else? This is your hearing. You're paying the taxes in this county. We appreciate you all taking your time to come here this evening. Again, anyone else? If not, Pam, any closing remarks you'd like to make as county engineer?
I would just like to thank the citizens of the county for showing up tonight. I don't know as though we've ever had this many people at a 1 in 6 meeting before, so I'm truly humbled by your personal, heartfelt interest in our roads. I am available at Lancaster County, and so I did leave some of my cards up front. My email is on our website, and if you ever need anything, please feel free to contact me or my staff. Thank you.
And if there's no other business come before this meeting, I'd accept the motion to adjourn.
Move that we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Shore,
Yes. Yes.
Amundson,
Yes.
Smoyer,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you for your time and attention.
Very much.